Hey there, Muncies. I know it's been a long time, but I'm back with the 2004 SH Monsterarts Godzilla figure here. Now, this just recently released to the mainstream market. I'm sure there's a lot of collectors who got access to this early. I'm not one of those people who have access to early things. Not for a lack of trying. Sent out some emails, but I've actually been collecting not all the SH Monsterarts stuff, but the main Godzilla figures. And I have some of them with me here that we'll do a comparison with whenever it's later time. Alright, so yeah, it's been the standard boxes and stuff with the transparent parts. You know, when this movie first came out, compared to the other millennial Godzilla movies at the time, it wasn't my favorite, put it that way. This movie's like a 50-50 split. I didn't like it really much at all. But in hindsight, as the years go by, I've grown more fond of this movie. I'm still not liking it that much compared to other Godzilla films. But I think one of the things that put me off so much about the movie when it first came out was that they had so many monsters in the movie, so many kaiju, that the kaiju that they did have, it seemed like the costumes had to be low budget compared to the previous millennial Godzilla movies. And so they looked a little cheap and stuff in that sense. Maybe they lacked a little bit in the detail department. However, I've grown fond of it and stuff in its own right in that sense. My point is the design of Godzilla himself has definitely grown on me over the years. Still not my favorite, but I think what holds me back the most about the movie is just all the human nonsense and all the tribute to other franchises that film undergoes. I kind of really like this design. Maybe it's because they used this Godzilla as like the mascot on packaging for practically like a decade when there was no movies coming out. Well, it wasn't quite a decade, but for the Toho stuff it was. On my first look through with this here, I noticed that the articulation is probably some of the smoothest. Maybe this is just my figure, but it's some of the smoothest I've ever experienced with a Monsterarts figure. Now, often there's times where the joints are so tight, it feels like you're a little skeptical at first about moving anything without breaking it. But this, while it's smooth and almost loose filling, is not actually loose. It's holding together very well. You can get such a wide range of articulation. But yeah, it's loose, but still enough to hold itself into place and stuff. And I believe that the articulation points themselves are very standard for a Godzilla figure. You know, you have obviously the jaw. You have obviously several points here in the tail. But one thing I noticed about this is, compared to some of the more recent releases of Monsterarts Godzilla figures, I feel like the joints move so easily. Not to say that they're loose, it's just that there's clearance, actually. There's a lot of Godzilla figures that they've released where it's actually very difficult to move certain joints, or you have to be careful to, make sure that they're not scratching up along where the joints and the plates meet each other. But this is actually the smoothest, I think, moving Godzilla figure I've ever had from Monsterarts. And I'm actually enjoying posing this figure, even though I'm not doing any real posing right now. I'm just moving things. Not that you would ever really want to bend the leg like that, but that's some like fluid and smooth looking motion there. Look at that. Some of the ink is brushing off onto my hand here. Some of the paint. Oh, let's start with paint here really quick here. Yeah, so this is pretty much the standard coloring for a lot of the Godzilla figure paint and stuff from Monsterarts. You know, paint the back, paint the claws, paint the mouth and the eyes. That's about it. I don't recall seeing this color paint for claws before. When it comes to the paint, the biggest issues, of course, are still the face. If you look in here, let me open his mouth up wider. On the box, it looked decent with the shadowing effect, but when you actually look inside the mouth of the figure, it's extremely purple. And then you also have the issue with the eyes. As you can see, they're not quite lined up right. Fairly close. Now, I do want to compare him really quick here to some other Monsterarts Godzilla figures. And here he is next to Godzilla Ultima. Size comparison is no question. And then finally, 2002. But for example, in terms of articulation, you can see when you push down on the shoulder here, you have how much gaping. But on one hand, you might not want to see that, but you can always kind of push it up to hide it. Perhaps not, that's not quite the pose you want though. But as opposed to this here, it's so tight in the range for the shoulder that without grinding on like the little scales, there's not much range you can get. But as opposed to Godzilla Ultima, which had these shoulder panels and this very odd, almost oval shaped shoulder, there's not quite much room you can get in that sense of articulation. But this here, look at this shoulder go. You can just alright, Monsties. How do you feel about the Monsterarts line nowadays? Do you feel like it's keeping a standard of quality? Do you think it's improving, staying the same, faltering somewhat? But especially with NECA off the market with Godzilla stuff, this stuff's exciting to get. Alright, Monsties, stay tuned.